A very warm welcome to this Compendium taster video. My name's Claire Agutter and I'm the founder of Scopism. In the 2025 SIAM Body of Knowledge refresh, we added Compendiums, which are new, short publications that look at emerging topics in the SIAM space and allow us to look at how they might affect SIAM adoption around the world. In this video, you will hear from some of the contributors to the compendium, a little bit more about the details. After you've watched the video, you can then download the compendium in the community, and in each document, you'll find a feedback link. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do use the link and complete the short survey. Enjoy the video.
Hello everybody and welcome to our seminar series, which is all about the compendiums that are being released for the SIAM Body of Knowledge 2025 refresh. So this is a series of events that focuses on the development of those new compendiums and really gives us a little bit of a deep dive into the content as we explore it with some of the participants and the authors. So before we kick off, I'm going to allow my two fellow panelists today to introduce themselves. So I'm joined with Markus Müller, who's one of our or lead author, I should say, for the Trust Compendium, and also Michiel Boom, who is a fellow contributor, and they've been working very hard together for the last few months. So Markus, can I go over to you, please, a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for the warm intro, Michelle. I'm Markus Müller, living in Vienna, Austria, working for EY Technology Consulting. For 33 years, I've helped organizations design operating models and run IT service with strong process, governance, and trust. So I'm a SIAM enthusiast, and I was, before we even called it that, so long-time contributor to SIAM, co-author to the 2019 Professional Body of Knowledge refresh. I translated the Foundation Body of Knowledge into German, co-created Accent's German practitioner exam questions. Interesting experience. In short, I'm a Scopism community champion for the German-speaking region. I've applied SIAM as methodology, as an architecture, and as a mindset across many programs. And today I'm thrilled to introduce our new SIAM Trust Compendium together with you, Michelle and Michiel. That was for sure one of my flagship projects in 2025.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much, Markus. You do so much for the community, and we really benefit from that, that experience that you've reflected on there. Michiel, over to you, please. We'd like to know a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Markus. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Michiel Boom. I'm an operating model and service integration advisor for Kyndryl in the Netherlands. My focus is usually on making things work together. I've got 28 years of experience in designing, implementing and running IT organizations, 20 years in delivery and 8 years in the solution and consulting area. Usually in very large programs internationally, so I've got experience in 100 plus, I think there's more probably now, customer environments, 6 industries across 20 plus countries. And for the last few years I've been taking part in the Global SIAM Council. And with all of that, SIAM Trust is a great thing that we'll go into in the next period. And it's been a joy working with Markus on this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you both spending the time and taking us through a little bit around the content today. Thank you for those amazing introductions. It's great for people to really reflect on the caliber of people that are supporting the development of the new guidance. So it's a wonderful reflection, and thank you for sharing with us. Before I sort of deep dive, I wanted to offer a little bit of preamble. So both of you have talked about this concept of trust and how it's figured in your day-to-day working and why it became of real interest. And I think for me, it wasn't a topic that I had thought really significantly about until I became acquainted really with Markus and some of the work that Markus was doing. So As Markus reflected there, he was involved in the last refresh of the guidance, and in 2019 he contributed a significant body of work around this concept of trust, and it was so compelling and so interesting. The challenge we had at the time was that we were writing the guidance, and it was the professional body of knowledge, and of course there were so many features and facets that had to go in there, and so trust only could get quite a marginal mention, not as much as we would like, but we really recognised the value of the contribution and talked about producing a white paper and so on. And so when this opportunity came around, that there could be a whole batch of guidance on it, to me it was really, really exciting, because I saw the value and I saw the passion that Markus certainly had injected into producing the content that he had previously. So I'm really delighted that we've got both of the contributors here to talk to you a little bit more about that, but I just wanted to set the scene. I'd like really to maybe offer a question to you first, Markus, if I may. We know that this guidance is produced by volunteers, and Michiel was a significant part of your team, but I know there was others as well. Could you tell us a little bit more about that team and the approach that you took when you developed this compendium on trust?
Sure. Yeah. As you said, Michelle, we actually started as a small band of brave volunteers in the SIAM community. And step one was just to get into a call. So that was the first challenge. I would call it calendar Tetris. Truth to be told, we never had everyone in the same virtual meeting at once, very busy people. So we recorded every session. So those who couldn't join could do a bit of catch up. And early, we actually kept it messy on purpose, I would call it. So lots of brainstorming, aligning on things, getting to a common denominator about what we actually want to talk about. So two things were the initial topics. What this compendium should actually achieve, and who are we writing for? So we came out with the common denominator that we will focus on practitioners and architects alike. So then you, Michelle, you brought ideas and structure in very early, so that kept us honest and moving. And then when Richard and Martin joined, we hit the pause button, revisited, and we talked a lot about the why. Why does the world need another compendium, especially about trust? And how is it related to us personally? What do we stand for here? And so that gave us kind of a clear direction after the discussion. And from there, the crafting began. We turned the raw thoughts into hopefully clean, understandable text, and then arranging it into logical flows so that the storyline emerges. And when the deadlines got real, as we progressed, naturally the team got a bit smaller. But you, Michiel, you kept pushing, and with your help, Michelle, actually, we can be proud of what made it to the page. And one personal note, a note that I would like to say here before we continue. Working on this compendium, while we did this, the more and more we did this, reminded me that trust isn't a soft extra. It's actually the operating system of how we work together. So we talk about trust usually more at home than at work, but it's actually the same glue that holds teams, organizations, and even societies together. So if you trust in a team, if you trust in a leader and shared values, or you can trust in a tool or in a vision, whatever you trust in, looking at the world right now, understanding how to navigate complexity, how to navigate trust, I think it's more urgent than ever. And it gave me this extra push beyond the cliche, really examine what truly builds trust and what quietly can break it. So going back to the question, Michelle, the compendium approach we took is we want to make trust manageable. We recognize it. It's like a system to be managed. So we took a systemic approach to trust.
That's wonderful. And I really like the idea. We use the term soft skill as almost as if it's, it's something that's not important. And what you're saying, it's so significant. It's fundamental to, creating relationships. So I think that's a really good grounding moment, really, to sort of put us on the page of why it was important. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you also for showing us a little bit more about, how it works, how dynamics, teams in complex environments across geographies work together. And you're right, it certainly ended up with a fantastic result that people will be able to read and enjoy and learn from. So that's wonderful. Michiel, a question for you, if I may. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the content? Because there's lots of content. We can't cover it all today, but something for you when you joined the team, what was it that was particularly important or interesting in the context of SIAM and Trust that you wanted to bring into this compendium?
So I'll answer that in a couple of ways. So I'll first go into what's in the compendium. I won't describe everything because that's way too much. And then I'll talk about what's key for me and why I wanted really to be part of this. So to start off, SIAM is about orchestration so that people and nowadays things work together. And trust is foundational, especially in a modern ecosystem where there's constant change and transformation. Nothing stays the same. So people are always at unease. Markus said it, you said it. Generally, trust is seen as a soft topic and therefore usually doesn't get the deserved attention in business, also in SIAM. And that is unserved. In practical reality, in my experience, in some occasions, it's even the most important thing to have. Because if that's not there, the collaboration or whatever you want to achieve is not going to happen. And there's a saying, trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. You don't want to repair it, because it takes too much effort. Now, if we look at the compendium, the content that's in there in 3 pieces, what is trust and what is it not? Trust in the different aspects from a SIAM perspective, like enablers, impediments, what do you need to know? For example, zero trust, trust map, trust assessments, maturity models, and finally culture. And then third part is practical applications, tools, challenges you can use. There are 2 parts in that content that really spoke to me. The first one is culture, especially between people. And I say that because there's culture of countries with people, and there's culture of organizations, again with people. There's different mixes. The second part is objective alignment on harder topics, such as joint objectives, shared data, data that both parties can see. That's not just important between people, because it's part of what creates trust if you look at the same kind of data, but also between systems. And going forward, where we're more dependable on systems and where we want to utilize AI, agentic AI, potentially AGI, that's going to be important as well. Now, let me see. So, understanding culture is key. That usually remains a soft topic, and we have some pointers a little bit later on that. But culture is key because not just because of the cultural diversity in SIAM, but you have different countries, different people that are contributing, but also because different organizations within the same country can have different cultures. I have run many times into examples where the customer culture was one way and the Kyndryl culture was quite technical, completely different, and there was not really a cultural match between the people working together, which then needed to be addressed, or at least thought about. So it's not a given. So trust between different cultures is not a given, but the way different cultures deal with trust in itself may also be different. One culture will trust you based on, well, your papers, you're a doctor in whatever it is, and other cultures will not really care about that. They will look at your personality. They will want to drink coffee with you first. They don't care about the contract. They care about what you speak about. So, you know, and the thing is, culture is like a white space. It's invisible, and many times you're not aware of it until you run into something unexpected. And in a SIAM working environment, where every party has its goals it wants to achieve, such surprises may not always be good or come at the right time. So, now there's another saying from Ronald Reagan. He said, "Trust but verify." It's cheaper to trust everybody outright, because then you don't need to put any effort in validating. But usually you still need to have some data to check whether what the other is saying is true. So data and KPIs always is sensible to maintain alignment on it. And sometimes it's even handy to use it and say, that particular KPI is red. And by the way, that's bad for you and bad for me. I need to work on that, so your business is going to do better. It's about highlighting what not always is good for you, but it is good for the other. KPIs and data are really important there, not just between people, but increasingly so between systems, because systems cannot really socialize. They just look at raw data points. And that's where this will come into play, and Markus will talk about that a little bit later. So I think that latter part on technical systems, objective alignment, that will be increasingly more important when we're moving into the AI era. Right now, the AI era is still pretty small. That will grow and increase, and this will become an important topic in the sense of, can we trust that AI system? Is it aligned with the objectives that we have? And possibly, can we trust that AI system to trust the other AI system? This compendium will give you instruments and tools and insights on how to deal with those things. Hopefully I answered the question a little bit, Michelle.
You did, absolutely. It's fantastic. And I think what our listeners will be starting to understand is how complex and multifaceted this is, because this trust is not just a relationship between human beings, it's between technology, and it's a cultural thing, as you say. And I think, you know, as I was going through the guidance, I don't think it had ever really struck me before how significant it was to some people to have a contractual commitment. And as you say, you know, others are quite happy to go and drink coffee with you and establish a relationship, and really the paper document doesn't matter a great deal to them. So its importance, it's really considerable, really, in a SIAM ecosystem, which is a great reason, of course, to build this guidance. Another question, if I can, for Markus. One of the things I thought was quite interesting, and maybe it's because I'm especially not an expert in this particular domain, was around security. So there was a section about zero trust in security, which is a hot topic, and trust being a critical SIAM concept. That for me was really interesting, that sort of almost juxtaposition. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, yes. And to me, it was also really interesting when I always hear about zero trust and I say, wait a minute, it's all about trust. Why zero trust? So, you know, at first glance, zero trust and SIAM, they sound like opposite, but they're not. They live on different layers. And to put it in a nutshell, zero trust is securing systems. So the motto is never trust, always verify. And SIAM Trust enables the people to collaborate across the organizations. So, you know, we should put them together. And in this particular chapter, we examine, you know, how they come together. Zero trust assumes always breach. We continuously verify the users, the devices, the workloads. And of course, we log everything, we audit the access and whatnot. So in SIAM, it's all about the day-to-day confidence that lets the customer, the integrator, and the providers share the information, make the decisions, move fast without drama. So Yeah, multi-party delivery needs relational trust to function. And how do we bring them together? We keep the collaboration open. We keep it predictable, while the system interaction, that is authenticated and recorded. So we apply zero trust to the systems, not to the people. Yeah. And of course, that means we separate the technical controls, identity, the logging, and the relational trust. That's about fair exchange in the forums, about clear roles, transparent decisions, you name it. So, let's use the example of incident management. A technical RCA after major incident to prove or improve the control. That's one thing. It's leaning towards the technical side. However, a short, time-bound trust plan to repair the relationship is what we do on the behavior side. We need both in a way, and they complement each other. So I remember, Michiel, we had this conversation the other day. You already mentioned it. Zero trust today. It's mostly also between technical systems, not only human technical interaction anymore. It's technical to technical system, AI-enabled operation, agent to agent handoffs. For me, it's becoming a frontline topic. The model reliability, the guardrails, auditability, it will matter as much as human trust. So in the compendium, we talk about the asymmetry principle we see in the people, and it applies certainly to the systems too. So the small failures, they damage the confidence faster than the success builds it. And so bottom line, we use zero trust to secure how access works. We use SIAM practices to secure how people work.
I love that analogy. Thanks, Markus. And I think that connection with the incident management analogy that you provided there was really interesting. I might go to Michiel because you touched on this before. Culture and behaviour feature really heavily in this compendium. Can you share a little bit more about some of the guidance around that, please?
Yeah, so I confused you a little bit about culture and objective alignment before going to the document to look at everything. But on culture, I can provide a little bit more guidance already. So on culture, there are different frameworks to look at or to use that help you understand. We have Hofstede from the 70s, Netherlands. There is Erin Meyer from the US. And there is, I think, Trompenaar also from the Netherlands. They are all slightly different. Hofstede is one that provides concepts and gives insight. Erin Meyers is more provides a framework that will provide a little bit more practical guidance, how to deal with people if you want to achieve. I'm more fond of the Hofstede approach, which gives insight. For example, he has 6 dimensions. And the 6 dimensions are power distance. Is there a big boss? Or and how approachable is the big boss versus the people doing the work? Or are they all on the same level? Is it very easy to go to the boss and just have a discussion? That's different in different cultures. Individualism versus collectivism is the second dimension. Is it about me or is it about us? Uncertainty avoidance. Some cultures are very risk-taking. They don't care about what's happening, and other cultures want to be completely in control and make sure that nothing bad can happen. There is this masculinity versus femininity. This is a tricky one in the last 5 or 10 years. This is about the culture, masculinity versus femininity. For example, I always say, Dutch culture is a pretty feminine culture, which means that, and by the way, the US is seen as a little bit of a masculine country. So could well be that my thinking patterns as a Dutch male are more feminine than the thinking patterns of a lady in the US. And I may be exaggerating, but it's good to look at things like that because it helps you answer why people act or think in a certain way. The other one is long-term versus short-term orientation that Hofstede uses. And the other one is indulgence versus restraint. Are you using are you making life grand right now, use and everything that you can, or are you using restraint and saving stuff for tomorrow? So these dimensions, and like I said, Ehrenmeier has different one and Trompenaar has different one, but using these dimensions, plotting different countries on them, and that's actually quite the useful tool, because if you work with another country, you can look at these dimensions, see where your country is, and then see where the other country is and compare them. That already prepares your mind for a lot. And this understanding of where the other comes from, so basically not thinking, why are they acting that stupid? Because for me that makes no sense. But being able to predict where they are and what they might say and how they might approach things in a different way, that already will create a lot of trust, especially if you anticipate that and can explain about your own culture. My personal experience, because I've used these things in working with other culture, is that it is really making a bridge towards the other culture. So for me, that has been instrumental, and we've included some of this, or most of this, at least the highlights, in the compendium. Go look at it, because it's really useful.
It's really, really interesting stuff. I can vouch for that. So thanks, Michiel. I might just touch on the practical guidance elements. Markus, you mentioned that in the opening when we were talking about the team and structure. There's a lot of practical guidance in this compendium. What does that look like? Can you share a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, great question, because that's exactly where we put a lot of thought into how we can make something quite abstract like trust, put it into practice. And of course, it's a matter what everyone understands when we say practical. Practical to us means small, repeatable moves, make trust measurable, managed, and part of everyday SIAM. So that's why we describe things in table form, in a sense like, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. We describe quite concrete tools that we use in the past and that made a difference. So some of these tools don't exist elsewhere. We gave them names. For example, we call one tool a one-page trust plan. So it's a single page you can use after something goes wrong. You write down 3 to 5 concrete fixes. What's your goal? Who owns them? By when? How? And so we turn the story into actually visible action and proof. Then we got something called Trust Pulse. It's a tiny check-in before after key milestones like a release, a cutover, or an operations major incident. And what it does, you ask a few quick questions about confidence in the competence, in the transparency, the intent. And then you can compare the before, scoring, and after, and that helps you. The gap would show if trust is strengthened or it's slipped, so we can respond fast. There's a stakeholder trust map. It's a simple picture showing who trusts whom across the customer, integrator, and providers. So you can get the picture via short surveys, interviews. You plot out these in a 2D map. For example, reliability versus openness, and then the hotspots, they jump out, and you can then exactly focus your relationship work to those hotspots. And then we have terms in the compendium, we call them trust signals. So this is about creating or extending your usual KPIs, your dashboards, and adding a small set of behavioral trends alongside. So track things like response time, that's rather clear, but also how inclusive is the language? Do we use we, us versus I? and whether decisions follow the agreed route. And this helps showing warnings. It's not a heavy process. It's just catching friction before it actually becomes a failure. And then at the end of the compendium, we have something we call the maturity ladder. So it's a simple assessment tool, CMMI-like, using these 5 discrete levels from ad hoc to embedded trust. You can place your team on every level there. You can place it today, pick 1 or 2 behaviors to climb a step up to the next levels. So it shows where you are and what better would look like. It keeps the improvement bite-sized, concrete. And so in short, the guidance in the compendium, it comes with ready-to-use descriptions that you can actually lift straight into your day-to-day work.
That's fantastic. And, people love that practical guidance. It's all very well to have a theoretic book, but having tools that can help you to do your job is absolutely ideal. So that's fantastic. Thank you both. That was a really great overview. And I'm sure you've whet the appetite of people who are ready and waiting to download this guidance. So our call to action for those of you that are listening today, scan the QR code that's going to appear on the screen and let us know what you think once you've had a chance to read that guidance, which is free for you to download. And what other guidance do you think is needed in your experience? The guidance is built by practitioners. They're expert practitioners. They're people with loads of experience, but always keen to learn more. What could we add? What could we evolve even further? So we'd love to hear from you. That will bring us to the end of the session today. It just remains for me to say a huge thank you to Markus and Michiel for both writing the content with your team and also, appearing with us today to help us to understand a little bit more about the content and bring it all to life. So thank you both, and thank you to those that are listening. It's been great to join you all today.
Thank you.
Thank you.